Namaste. Today's video is about how to practice a yoga asana. What are the basic concepts that should be borne in mind while practicing yoga asanas? So I'm going to show you one asana which is called Ardha Baddha Padma Uttanasana, in which some of the key elements of practicing yoga will be visible. So let me start. Did you observe the controls that I used while doing this asana? The first point that you should bear in mind is the steps and the process that I defined while doing this. There was a method to do this asana. I folded my leg upwards and kept it in Padmasana. That was done during an inhalation. While exhaling, I took my hand back and tried to catch the toe. Then with an inhalation, I kept this hand on the waist. And then while exhaling, I bent forward. While doing that, I was looking front. At the tail of that exhalation, when I reached down, I looked at the tip of the longest finger, that is the nail. There I took 3 breaths. Every inhale, I tried to lengthen my body towards the ground, and every exhale, I tried to bring my body closer to the leg. After completing 3 complete regulated long breaths there, I inhaled and lifted my upper body, but still looking at that fingernail. And when I exhaled, I bent this standing leg and I looked front. That was done with an exhalation. Now, looking at that front point, I inhaled and stood up. After standing up, I exhaled there. After exhaling, I took my leg front with an inhalation. And then I exhaled and put my leg down to Samasthiti. Did you observe that there is a clear-cut, defined process for practicing a yoga asana? This is the first concept that should be driven home while practicing yoga. Concept number 2. My breathing was regulated with control at my throat. The sound of breath was audible to you. It was similar to an ocean wave. It's called ocean breathing. So that sound of inhalation and exhalation is the leader for the practice of yoga. A yoga practice without regulated breath is like a ship without a rudder. The ship will be taken anywhere because there is no rudder for it. Along with the wind, it will be carried away. So the breath with sound, with control and regulation is a very, very important element of yoga practice. That is concept number 2. Every action of mine was synchronized with one part of a breath. If you noticed, the way I folded my leg upwards, it was an inhalation. When I took my hand back, it was an exhalation. When I caught my hand on the waist, it was an inhalation. When I bent forward, it was an exhalation. Then I took 3 complete breaths there. Completed all the 3 breaths. I was counting my breath. Then with an inhale, I lifted my upper body. Then took an exhalation there. Then I inhaled and stood up. I took an exhalation there. And then I inhaled, took my leg forward. And with an exhalation, I dropped my leg. So each breath is counted. That is concept number 3. Every breath is numbered, every step is numbered. Practice with discipline of breathing, discipline of process. Next concept. When I took my leg up to Padmasana, I did not fold it directly like this. If I fold my leg directly, it suddenly twists my knee. So what did I do? I took the leg like this first and then I turned my leg. So I secured my knee and then brought Padmasana. All that happened in one inhalation. So don't suddenly make a bend in any of the body part. Take that gradually so that the joints and your muscles are protected. Another concept. If you observed, when I bent forward, I was leading front. So ensure that whenever you make a forward bend, you lead forward, looking at front. And when I reached there, I quickly changed my drishti from that point to my leg. Because when I reach there, I am supposed to look at my toe. Because the asana, the drishti is on the toe, the fingernail. So what is the benefit of looking front while bending forward? One is a forward travel of the asana and the balance will not be lost. If you bend forward, looking at that point and looking down during that travel itself, the chances of you losing the balance is very high. So while balancing, try to look at one point. That is another concept. After reaching there, I was practicing the asana looking at my fingernail. That is next concept. Every asana, there is a definite drishti. Either looking at the toe or looking at the thumb, looking at the tip of the hand, looking at the navel, looking at the nose, looking at the sky. There is a drishti for every asana. Focus on proper drishti. That is the next concept. After finishing 3 counted breaths there, I inhaled and lifted my upper body, but still looking at that fingernail because the asana is not over. When I exhaled, I looked front, bending this leg because now I am going to stand up, and if I should not lose my balance, I should be looking at one point. So before I started coming up, my drishti is already fixed on one point, and that's why I did not lose my balance when I stood up. After I stood up, I did not release my legs suddenly because in this asana, where the head was towards the ground and one leg was folded, the blood flow to the brain, to the head is very high. So after standing up position, I exhaled here and then With an inhale, I took my leg front, and then with an exhale, I brought my leg down. So when I took my leg front and then brought it down, the blood flow from my upper body comes down gradually. So it doesn't drop suddenly. If it drops suddenly, you will get a giddiness. So that is the reason why I took my leg front and then put it down. So see the importance of process in practicing yoga. So we have to give respect to all these steps because there is a reason for every step and every breath in yoga practice. Now I will show you the same asana as a beginner, a person who is new to yoga practice. Observe this. Did you observe that as a beginner, what are the changes that I made to my practice? First, I kept a chair so that I don't lose my balance. Even if I lose my balance, I don't fall, for safety. Second, I did not do Padmasana. I kept on the thigh because initially the knee flexibility may not be enough to do a Padmasana. If you observe, all the steps were followed. All the processes were adhered. Every breath was counted and regulated with ocean breathing. I was observing forward drishti when I bent forward. And when I reached there, I looked at the longest fingernail. Each inhale, I tried to go closer to the ground. Each exhale, I tried to go closer to the leg. On the tail of the third exhale, I did my best according to my own capability. Then I inhaled and lifted my upper body. Took an exhalation there and I looked forward to ensure that I don't lose the balance while coming up. Then I inhaled and came up. Then I took an exhalation there. To ensure that the blood flow does not reduce suddenly from the head, what did I do? I inhaled and took my leg forward. And then I exhaled and kept the leg down to Samasthiti. Did you observe the importance that I gave to all the processes that I explained just a while back? Now this intelligence is what yoga is about. You would have heard Guruji BKS Iyengar saying that there are no advanced asanas or beginner asanas. There are only advanced students and beginner students. As a beginner, we must try to modify the asanas in such a way that it is possible for us to do in an easy manner. And gradually, when we get the feel of that asana, try to improve step by step, day by day, month by month. Keep these subtle points that I explained today. Respect all these processes. Regulated breathing. Synchronize each action with breath. Have a lot of control on what you are doing. If you are a beginner, adjust the steps in such a way that you don't hurt yourself. Gradually, day by day, improve the steps. And if you keep all these points in mind, be sure that you will practice an entire lifetime. Namaste.